May I now invite the first speaker, His Excellency Mr. Kobsak UN, former Thai ambassador and former member of parliament, to take the floor. Thank you. You have the floor, sir.
Thank you, Ambassador Vichai. Dear colleagues, excellencies, first of all, allow me to thank you for the opportunity to be with all of you today, to be with people who share a commitment, a passion, like my king, for the soil, the land, and its people. Who was this man, this frail, bespectacled young man who grew up to be a king? In the infinity of moments that make up a lifetime, it is hard to focus on a few moments. But perhaps we can share with you here today some of the stories now being told for the first time, most of them, now that he has passed away, by the people whose lives he had touched. Some of you have been to Thailand. Some of you know our country. About 350 kilometers north of Bangkok, there is a province by the name of Pitsunulok. Quite far away, dusty roads in the central plains, rice fields, sometimes flooded, sometimes dry, but all the time very hot, traversed by a lot of rivers and canals. There in Pitsunulok, 315 kilometers north of Bangkok, is a lady. She's 63 years old now. She's 63 years old now, by the name of Lon Mimeta. For 36 years, every day, she has gone from her farm to clean this pavilion on her own. Nobody knew why, until recently she told them. She said, this pavilion that she takes care of, not for pain, nobody asked her to, try to keep the water out, try to keep it clean. She said 36 years ago, a man came to her village and stopped here. To the village, he showed them how to irrigate the farm. He gave them buffaloes. He gave them land. So for every day, for 36 years, she has come to keep it clean, hoping one day he will come back. So, with the tilapia fish he gave, he came back 13 more times, but never to this spot. But she says that she will still keep it clean, look after it, because she's thankful, she said, for a sustainable life he gave to her and to her village. Further up north, in the Nan province, 668 kilometers north of Bangkok, up in the forest, in the hills, in the mountains, very woody, hilly, there is an ex-Communist Party of Thailand insurgent by the name of Comrade Nom. Recently he came out. He was a guerrilla insurgent in his teens. He said at that time, when they fought the elites, the ruling class in Bangkok, the military, the wealthy, the landed gentry, these people tried to appropriate the king for themselves. And they said the communists were fighting against the king. But he said, no, that was never the case. Because he had said, to help the people, we need to know the people. So he, his comrades in arms, were confident that they had the king on their side in fighting social injustice, fighting for their land rights, fighting for a better life. So he was confident, Comrade Nom, he said, that eventually the cause he was fighting for will prevail. In the late 1970s, the Communist Party of Thailand laid down their arms, and he said, without the king, he could never see the end of the war. After that, they were given land, they were given the right to grow crops, and now, in fact, they are the ones who are policing the area, free of crop of opium, having crop substitution, having irrigation, no slash and burn. So now they are the guardians of that hilly land that used to be a communist insurgency area, to which he said the king visited 72 times. And every time he visited, they would stop fighting. So this is, for us, something that we haven't heard of. These are the stories people kept to themselves, and only now are beginning to tell others after he has passed away. And he hoped that the king would be with them, and in fact, he did stay. We now recall in Thailand, quite amazingly, looking back, in 1967, at the age of 39, a king who was born in Boston, Cambridge, Massachusetts, who grew up in Lausanne, Switzerland for 16, 17 years, decided not to travel abroad again. At the time, nobody knew why, but I think we can now tell, the ambassadors can now reveal, that when the ambassadors went to receive their credentials from him, they said, "Oh, Your Majesty, I would arrange a state visit for you to go to see the Eiffel Tower in Paris. Please come, I arrange a visit for you to see the pyramids in Egypt, or to go to see Tokyo." He has never been. But he said, no, don't do any of that. Because, he said, I have made a choice, a decision, that I will never travel abroad, not on vacation, state visits, shopping sprees, or anything like that, until every man, woman, and child in Thailand is able to travel abroad. Of course, that day has not come. It never came. During the last days of his life, people were telling, "Your Majesty, why don't you go to see where you were born once again? Why don't you go convalesce in Lausanne, Switzerland? Clean air, nice fresh air, fresh food." But he said, "No, I can't leave. I can't leave." And he continued to spend most of his time close to the ground, on the soil, with his people. I think the tallest building he was ever been was the hospital that he spent the last years of his life, 16 floors. So it was not the high story, the skyscrapers in Bangkok, the top of the world kind of restaurants and all that he enjoyed. But again, closer to the ground, to the soil, to the earth, where he spent most of his time. And it was good for the people of Thailand. 4,685 development projects that he initiated. Irrigation, crop substitution, husbandry, soil erosion prevention, livelihood, cattle, fishing, 4,685, still ongoing, still going, developmental projects. One family, again, one family in Suphanburi province, some of you may have been there, 120 kilometers north of Bangkok. A story has been told of a lady by the name of Chon, a very simple name. It means spoon in Thailand. Before we didn't have elaborate names, very simple names of common utensils. Grandma Spoon, let's say, Grandma Chon. She usually didn't wear shoes. She was in the fields planting rice and all that. But she had to go to the district office all the time. You know, birth, death certificates, land titles, this and that, paying taxes. Sometimes when she went, ragged clothes, no shoes, the district officer would not let her go up the steps. But, no, you're not dressed properly. But one day, a big caravan came to her village, Samchuk it was called, quite far away in Suphanburi province. A man in muddy boots with a collar, the shirt torn because of sweat, came out, started to plant rice, taught them how to irrigate the farm, gave them buffaloes. And the picture of that man was published in the local newspaper. And she cut that up and put it, wrapped it up in a cloth. And when she went to the district office, she showed, when they stopped her and said, "You cannot come, you're not dressed properly, your clothes are torn, shoes muddy." She said, "Look, I have this picture of and she showed that photograph, old photograph in the newspaper. And she said, is this not your king? He is our king. He came to my village dressed like this. Why can I not dress like this to come to his office?" So, eventually she had shoes and and I had cleaner hands, eventually better clothes. But that woman raised 4 children. The youngest was 2 when her husband died. Single mother, raised 4 children, had 16 grandchildren, and now about 36, 37 great-grandchildren. She has passed away, but some of her, all her children and grandchildren, able to come to Bangkok to study. Some went abroad to study, to work, to travel. Because of the confidence he gave her, because of the way he showed her and with the photo that she kept with her all the time of his visit to her village. That woman was the grandmother of a few ambassadors, representatives of the king, who were posted in several countries. I'm proud to say that woman was my grandmother. So, sorry for being a bit emotional today, because we have a new king, a new reign. But I can only wish that I can tell him that, Your Majesty, yes, some of your people have been able to travel abroad. To live, to work overseas, to study. But all began because the foundation that he gave them. So, I would like to tell him that no, they shall never forget that once you cared, once you had sacrificed the living of your own life for them. And it was not only in Thailand, ladies and gentlemen. I think in Lesotho, I was there about 3 months ago. There's a small little hut, but not that small, that was built on the land there in Mat Sieng. Ambassador may know there. Yes, Lesotho, it's a pronunciation. Yes, for the Basotho people. Yes. So we were there, and from the road up to like a community hall that was built, like a town hall that was built. People were singing and waving, and somehow they got a calendar of him hanging on the wall, and it would pray, and they would always ask, "When is he coming? When is he coming?" I had to tell him eventually the reason why he does not travel. And it's a little poignant now that if they were to ask again, would they accept the answer that, well, his presence is with you. His presence is still with you. So perhaps that, again, it transcends borders, not only in Lesotho, Timor-Leste, rainmaking in Jordan, sustainable agriculture in Laos, in Cambodia, with limited means, trying to do whatever he could. There is a poem by this Bengali poet, Rabindranath Tagore, who wrote that every action of our lives touches a chord that vibrates in eternity. I think my king lived his life in accordance with that. Every action of our lives touches a chord that vibrates in eternity. So for him, every day, every hour had value. No rest for 70 years on the throne. But he would be the first to tell you, dear colleagues, that he's not perfect. He's not a demigod. He's not to be worshipped. But he just tried to do some good. Here in New York, I would have to refer to, I think, the Broadway musical, The King and I. I don't know whether some of you may have seen it. There is a song, a Lady Tieng sang, his wife, the royal consort, sang about the king. It goes something, this is a man who stumbles and falls, but this is a man who tries. He has 1,000 dreams that won't come true, but you know, he believes in them, and that's enough for you. I think in that song, far away, New York Broadway musical, Rodgers and Hammerstein, captures the sense of what the Thai people feel for their king. Though he has passed away, but he continues to touch lives. We recall the words of Kofi Annan when he presented the king the first United Nations Human Development Lifetime Achievement Award 10 years ago in 2006, when he said, "Your Majesty has reached out to the poorest and the most vulnerable people of Thailand, listened to their problems, and empowered them to take their lives in their own hands." He has passed away, of course, but his presence somehow, in some unexpected, surprising ways, continues to be felt. Some people continue to be touched by him. I have a 4-year-old niece, little girl, growing up. She has an eye problem, so she has to wear spectacles from early age. Going to school, of course, her friends would, tease her, sometimes bully her. Hey, specs, Even the teachers sometimes don't let her play some games because they're afraid she would hurt herself. When she came home one day, she asked, "Why am I the only person in the school that wears glasses? This is a kindergarten school." So we showed her a book, a small boy with glasses. And we pointed to a poster on the wall to say, this boy with glasses, 7 years old, grew up to be a king. So every morning, going into school, she would rush to his photo hanging on the wall, kneel down, bend down, and almost pray to him. Every afternoon coming out of school before going home, she would stop at that photo to do the same. It is a photo, a picture that a lot of us in Thailand have grown up with. It is a photo of a man on his knees watering plants on the soil. From that, she has gained confidence. Sometimes when her friends bully her, she would point to the photo. When the teachers tell her she cannot play, she would point to the photo. So even there, I am confident that this girl will grow up self-confident. She will grow up resilient. She will grow up self-sufficient. And that is part of his continuing legacy. So, dear colleagues, to end that kind of introduction to the man we have gathered partly to honor, to recall. With time, of course, as we go on with our lives, memory will fade. But thanks to the FAO, to all of you, at least we can look forward to one day in a year, in which we can recall and reaffirm the worth of a life which was lived on the soil for the land and its people. I have no doubt that of all the awards, acclamations, medals, and decorations King Bhumibol has received, he would most cherish the recognition of being a man of the soil, working with the soil in his hands, making it live so that it can provide for the people who depend on it. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for sharing his passion, for caring also for the soil, the earth that he, my king, loved until his very last days. Thank you.